beyond ego, beyond self-centered fear, beyond exceptionalism, beyond individualism, beyond headlines. This is Beyond Borders. Brought to you by Listen and Be Heard Network. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of Beyond Borders. It's my pleasure, my privilege to be here with you today. I'm Martha Cinader, and I'm the executive producer of Beyond Borders and the Listen and Be Heard Network, which brings this program to you, which is a project of Sound System Culture, a newly formed not-for-profit here in New York City where this program is produced. Judy Talaugon is on the West Coast, my co-producer, co-host, and Hernan Rodriguez Sierra also joining us today. And we're just talking about stuff, men and women, North and South, the state of the world, and we invite you to join us to listen in and to be heard too. You're always welcome to visit us at listenandbeheard.net. Send in your audio files or fill out a comment form, and we'll be happy to hear from you and interact with you. Subscribe to listenandbeheard.net while you're there so that you can get emails from us and find out who's appearing on this show and also the Listen and Be Heard Hour. Or if you like video, you can also go to the Listen and Be Heard YouTube channel, where you will find the unedited videos such as today's, which ran on more like an hour and a half. But in this podcast, you will get a shortened version of the conversation. How are you, Hernan?
Pretty good, Hernan. Jay, I'm trying to get used to that. Hernan.
Me too. I'm remembering to call you Hernan.
You guys are doing better than me. Even my son, and nobody calls me, and whatever, dude. You're going through a phase. You're going through a phase again.
It's more than a phase, right? Why are you going back to your birth name, Hernan?
I think it has to do with emotional and spiritual truth to myself. I guess that's why I think people go back. It isn't because of trying to be anything, but just trying to accept myself, good and bad, because there was all this trauma attached to what I thought I was trying to be.
Well, what were you trying to be?
Jay was a nickname, right? And it became a nickname in 8th grade or so because people couldn't say Hernan. And then when I got to performing arts, Jay became easy for people to say. I was tired of people saying Hernan, and I felt like I belonged. Oh, wow, they gave me a nickname. I thought it was cool.
That's right.
And I stuck with it.
It goes on. It goes on like that. And it's not a real attachment to the original garment, so right? That you were given.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, and so actually a lot of it has to do with the work that I'm doing with Martha, exploring like humanity in ourselves. And so I said, well, it's a scary thing to kind of, this whole thing of branding, we're thinking about business, and there's all these fears of...
You've been professional since you were a child.
Yeah.
And now you're changing your name, so that's a big deal. It's like getting divorced.
I always think, yeah, but the truth is, who was I married to? I mean, the truth is, it didn't make a difference in one way. Maybe people remembered me. If people want to hire you, they're going to call you whatever. But I had to learn that now. I just think that it wasn't like I made a gazillion dollars because my name is Jay. Some people know, but they know my playing. Oh, you mean Jay is Hernan, and whatever that means. But I think it's owning who I am, and it's part of that. And also thinking about my ancestors and stuff like this. But I was thinking about all of the issues that the species, has done in male. The male
men,
yeah, the male of us, like the destruction that it's caused and why. I think it would be interesting to talk about what can men do to make things better, coming from a perspective of just like, I'm a good person. And that's good, but the male ego, the gender has caused a lot of pain. Is it based on species? Is it based on power? Is it something that's innate? Can we get through it? If we talk about it more, do we evolve? Are all men like this? Do I struggle with that? How do women play into it? Are women just as guilty at some point? Not at all like percentage-wise, but when I'm thinking of everything that's happening now in our world and the ugliness that we see with our president and the people that are attached to him, defending him, who are women, and then women who are defending genocide based on religion. So there's something spiritual throwing off, and we're using every aspect of segregating ourselves from humanity, whether you're black, whether you're white.
The idea that white feminists need to recognize the general oppression in the struggle of women that extends to other people. So if we talk about men and women, men need to do the same thing. You're asking, what can men do? They have to recognize the general oppression of people and how that structure affects us in various ways, whether it's because you're a child or you're a woman or you're a man who gets beat down in the same way by patriarchy, but with different rules for him than for her. Right? So if a man is saying, well, I'm not like that, that's a lot like a white woman saying, I'm not like that, and not recognizing.
And then they continue the
that
behavior.
There's this oppression happening that goes beyond. An indigenous woman who lives in what's now called Mexico, you have different issues you're dealing with than a white woman who has, say, a financial job in New York, right? That's just reality. And if this woman can't recognize in New York the oppression that, say, indigenous men down south are faced with, then she can't even really understand what her sister down there is going through.
So there's...
Right?
May I?
Yes, please.
All right. So there's tons of language here. So I want to, and I'm not going to track it. I want to say this because someone just got back from Venezuela, and one of the things that is already in function is comunas. All these communities, comunas. We don't have that here. We don't.
Comunas.
Comunas. Say that, my brother.
No, comunidades, but comunas is a quicker version of saying it.
There you go.
Communities.
Very slang based, and but we need
comunas.
That's the consideration up in the north. I need my brother to help with this dialogue, because if we don't, we're going to get the language wrong. Number 2, that is not deprived. That is rich to have this many communities and a central community to speak of the revolution right now and displace what kind of leadership is happening, to address. We don't do that here. And that the woman who is facing economic hassles up here in the north is in fact not the privileged one. She's deprived because no solid, like Hernán asked, what is the tangible? What can we offer the community? What can they do? So there it is. And we need to really remember what a community, what a colectivo is. I love what you said.
Comunidad, yeah.
Yes, comunidad.
Yeah.
They're solid. They're ancient. They're real. They're transformative. So there you go. And we need those adaptations, because
that's our poverty, right?
It occurs that people are saying, "Oh, the Lower East Side," or you grew up in this rough neighborhood, or you're in a favela in Brazil, or how did you survive? Guess what? The people who are outside, who are not part of that community, they're coming from this missionary white kind of, or whatever that is, approach, assuming that it's dangerous and horrible. But meanwhile, within the community, everybody's looking out for each other. And you need sugar, like very simple little things, that those basic humanity things, we're understating them. I mean, we're acting like they don't exist. Yesterday, there was a young Latino man, well dressed, and he seemed to have coming from a rough place. And there was this white cat who had broken feet and he smelled not great. He was a young white person, about the same age. And he was like, I need $1, blah, blah, blah. And the young Latino, strong, indigenous looking kid was like, man, he was totally from the Bronx. You could tell. He's like, man, you stink. What's wrong with you? And it wasn't like he was violent, but he was kind of
checking
him. And he didn't do anything, but he was just upset. Perhaps he empathized. I'm just trying to figure that out. And then the guy left. He looked like he could probably get a job, but he was obviously struggling, whether it's mental illness. And I just thought, wow, man, look at this turnaround. I was like, wow, this is another person hurting. This guy's Latino. He's probably off of seeing all the white stuff. Mm-hmm. I personally think we have to get beyond this thing. Yeah. And that young man will probably feel better if you say, hey, what happens if that guy, in my idealist way of thinking, said, hey, man, you stink, but here, man, have $1. Or, he didn't get violent, so maybe that's as good as you get. I just thought about we have to give each other the awareness on a daily basis, but men need a lot of lessons. I was very struck by Martha's poem. I was just working on it, and we've been recording
Men
on a weekly
come from
basis.
women.
Yeah. But you said something very powerful at the end. No, I'm not gonna freaking make love to you or give you sex. What does that word mean? Instinctually, sex. What does it mean? What does it value besides? And
well, I think you're hitting at something because if you go back to lines talking about what's divine, and Judy and I talked about that in our last episode.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so sex is like a dirty secret most of the time. We're not supposed to even talk about it, let alone actually give it the honor it's due, which is that it's actually
an honorable thing.
A divine, it's part of divine creation, right? It's a pathway to our souls.
Right.
So if we don't honor that, we need to honor that. And if we don't,
if we discredit it, if we use it, it's like a drug. You could use it and it completely.
If you think you're going to take someone out to dinner and then they owe you, like it's a transaction.
That's what we're talking about. Yes.
I mean, after a human being.
If you think that it's something that
I got over. Right? Men have this thing like maybe women do it. Maybe women and men have this. Well, I just got laid. I'm really moved by that poem because it made me, again, I have to look at the ugly things. I think all of us have to look. I mean, I'm going to speak to me as a man. I'm trying to stay as a man.
I love that
spiritual.
And that question, I'm going to squish it a bit because I'm going back to Hernan's official question is, well, how? What do we do with the men? What about these guys? What about the men? Yeah. What about the cis-born men? What about that mentality? What about that power? What about this, you guys?
Well, men have the feminine within, right?
This is if whatever happens, because this is what I see coming. Whatever happens, we need to stop monetizing on teaching and loving and sharing wisdom. We need to stop having man weekends and charging all y'all $1,000 to come and pray with us and learn to be men again. No, we need to stop that. You just said it. It's transactional. Up here in the North, man, we got to deal. We got to gig. We got to grift. Stop it.
That's the whole thing, though. Like patriarchy is kind of based on capitalism. Which is based on extraction and thinking that we can own the earth. We can't own the earth. And we can't keep producing and keep having more. There's always a winter. The cycles come and go. You can't keep it. It's imposing something unreal on reality and forcing us all into that lie, which is that women somehow owe their free labor to this system, and therefore that renders women in this subservient class. And without that service, it would all fall apart, and that's what needs to happen.
And I think that this is just opinion. Well, and we have to break down, I guess, because we're living in those politicized aspects of what sex is, gender, right? And it's dividing. All of a sudden, it's an issue. Not that it acted like it's never existed before. when you have two-spirited people, when you have, right, all of a sudden it's a thing that we're trying to control. And we were on, and meanwhile, but sex, the ability to have sex, male or women, it still functions the same. We do it for the same reasons, to feel not alone, to feel like whatever it falls into.
You're listening to Beyond Borders, brought to you by the Listen and Be Heard Network. Please visit our archives at listenandbeheard.net. My name is Martha Cinader, and I'm joined by Judy Talaugon and Hernan Rodriguez Sierra. We've been doing some exploring on the weekends and leaving the tape recorder on, and this is a little something that we came up with.
What kind of community does not accept its gay brothers and sisters in whatever way that accepts itself?
There you go.
Carlos Peleo, I remember. He was one of my first friends when I was an immigrant when I first arrived. Carlos Peleo. I remember his name. Crazy? When I was 3 or 4 years old, and I played with him in this tenement building. And we were friends. And there was a guy named Tirso. And Tirso was a very macho Dominican kid. And Tirso ended up being, I guess, gay or bi or something, but he was killed by a cop. He was stabbed by a cop who started, I guess, doing tricks with. I have no, this is what I heard later on. I mean, I wasn't around it because music took me into this other place. Carlos Peleo dies of AIDS, right? I find out later. Very beautiful young man. And by the way, I didn't have to learn hate or understand. I was like, oh, that was a friend of mine. I don't know, my parents, somebody did something right because I wasn't going to go there. I never thought that he deserved it or that Tirso deserved. I was like, oh my God, that young kid, Tirso, I used to play football with, was stabbed because he was probably drugged out and the cop maybe abused him. Again, sex was used. Sex could be a gift yet it was used and abused to control.
But we all have those childhood memories, right? I remember young girls I knew who were found in a ditch and left there dead.
Wow.
Those are things that happen to girls on a regular basis, right? And I think we all have memories like that. I'm just saying those types of things, that brutality, that violence, whether it's like gender-based, I think that the main element of it is that it's still directed at that feminine. The need is still for slavery.
Submission.
At Auntie's table or uncle's table, sometimes in the village, in the community, it is actually a trans uncle. It is someone who cross-dresses. It is someone who will take that person who's been shunned, made a humiliation out of themselves, take them in when the rest of the village doesn't want anything to do with this person. Who takes them in but the auntie or the uncle who's trans, who's bi, who's out? And the community sees them as so and loves them. That's why we have that. No, and I'm saying that we are a very rich, and it's cultural. It's deep in
How about if it's a cisgender person?
Okay.
And it's compassionate.
Come open. My door is open.
I'm just saying, even if they're not gay, or I'm just saying, I want those people who, quote unquote, think they're normal, to look within themselves, to find the compassion, to feel empathy, because that is what I feel. At least for me, my biggest challenge.
I think that's the oppression
has been
I was referring to, right? Like we have to recognize oppression in all its forms, because that in itself is sort of this patriarchal thing which I don't even want to call it male, but it's because it's been imposed on men, right? It's been imposed on men, and so a lot of men are in this kind of like under the veil of not understanding that they're also oppressed by this.
Martha, I mean, I definitely feel, I think your poem and my relationship with you and Judy, and this time of my life as an artist, and being able to have these conversations in a public forum, which this is, has been something that I think has to be had by so many people, because I'm beginning to evolve and grow in a way that I didn't expect. And to be free to have this has been partly because of you, Martha. I mean, being able to discuss a poem and not just listen to the poem and go, I'm going to write music to it, which I can easily do. Or like we created that and just talk about that and ignore the depth, which is why every time I hear your poems, Martha, as my friend and as a colleague and just a friend, man, a serious artist, I'm moved. I actually have to listen to this stuff. I have to listen to this stuff, and I might not like what I hear. And I always tell Martha, I was like, damn, that was scary. Martha's like, what are you talking about? I was like, because what? I could be honest with Martha, because I'm actually not afraid to feel her art and feel her expression. What is it about art? Does art have to sit on the wall? I want art to kind of move my ass back to blow my mind. And I think what we're doing right now, poems on the radio, discussions on I believe that what we have here is something very deep. Let's get down to how do we make things better. I don't want to be toxic, but I have to remember that that's a big divide for me, that I want to live in a place where I respect my sisters and brothers, and I have sisters who I love dearly, and my sisters are sisters, and they're feminine as could be. They're Latina, mestizo, they let their beautiful feminine ass is gorgeous. I fall in love with that. They're protective of me and love me for all my mistakes, and I was like, man, talk about a community. I grew up with a very loving family. We don't have money, nobody, and there's no like, hey, Jay, you better call me or I feel like you don't love me. No, when we see each other, it's like, what's up? Like a conversation continues. I went to my therapist recently, and I realized that I was molested, right, as a child. And I mean, I remember it, but as a male, as a cisgender male, it was like a rite of passage. I was like maybe 7 or 8. I guess my rewiring got all weird. But in my mind, I accepted that. And my therapist, after who I've been seeing for 20-something years, said to me, how come I never heard this, Jay? Hernan, right? And I'm like, I thought I told you that. And he's Latino. And I was expecting him to go, oh, I would let that go. He's like, no. No. He goes, man, we got to do some work on this. And it just blew my mind. And my initial reaction was like, oh, all this time, I'm 58 years old, all this time I was like, oh, well, that's acceptance. I'm a man, I'm supposed to. And all of a sudden feeling this weak, I'm still having trouble just accepting the vulnerability of that moment. This has been an ongoing thing as a human being, this just as a human being. So for me to be able to work on that as I try to be a better human being, not just a man, in the world of art. Because for me to use whatever, looks, saxophone, oh man, composer, all these fantasies of like being, oh man, I'm the dude. No, how about just being a great human being and seeing that as weakness? Because anytime I was kind of warm or nice to the wrong person, I couldn't tell the difference. And also trying to be equal and the trauma of life that we all have. I'm not white, I'm not. So I said, well, how can I get past? I feel I'm from New York. I grew up here. I relate to my white brothers and sisters, but I don't have the same opportunity.
I'm really touched by some of the things you said. There's all these conversations we have about how many women have experienced whatever since at an early age, the things that happen, the things that men do. But what you're describing, I think maybe in a lot of ways what men can do is get in touch with what happened to them. Like, because this is equally oppressive all around. I mean, it's got to be hard, I think, to be a man, honestly. Like, it's got to be kind of hard. This is Beyond Borders, brought to you by Listen and Be Heard Network. My name is Martha Cinader, and I've been joined in this first half hour by Judy Talaugon and Hernan Ramiro Rodriguez Sierra, and the conversation will continue. What do you think? Is it hard being you, or do you think it's harder to be somebody else? I don't know. It's all a little confusing, isn't it, this world that we live in? But we can get through it together. And if you would like to help us, support us in bringing this conversation to you, that you are always welcome to join in any way that you find valuable, then please consider donating to the cost of producing this program. And you'll find out how to do that by visiting us at listenandbeheard.net or our sponsoring organization, Sound System Culture, which is at soundsystemculture.world. Please stick around and listen to the sounds, and Judy and Hernan and I will be back in a minute or two.
We all have a voice, and so it all depends on how we use it. So not only do we use the voices, but we also listen to other voices, and that's what we do here. We put people together, we bring musicians together, we bring communities together, and we listen and we be heard. We listen and we be heard. This is important work, and we're all a part of it. Tell them who you are. My name is Ricky Riccardi. I'm the Director of Research Collections for the Louis Armstrong House Museum, Grammy winner, author, and anything that can be done to spread this great project. I'm all in. I'm all in.
Okay, listen and be heard. For to be heard is to listen.
Es muy importante que mujeres como yo, mujeres negras, mujeres afrocentradas, estén en los circuitos literarios.
Las mujeres estamos tomando su rol desde que se nos había sido negado. Nos ha tocado abrir el espacio, que las nuevas generaciones, las actuales y las nuevas generaciones, no tengan que tropezarse a cada rato con dificultades por ser negro, por ser pobre.
Y entonces es un sueño absoluto estar en La Habana, estar en Cuba, haberme encontrado con mujeres parecidas a mí.
Canto el murmullo de las olas y las melodías del coral. Es poesía lo que respiro. Soy poesía negra del mar.
The voices of some Afro-Colombian poets at an international poetry festival in Havana, Cuba. Some of the very interesting things that Hernán has come up with in the internet archives of the world for us here at the Listen and Be Heard network, where we did play these before on a previous episode, I think sometime during season 3 of the Listen and Be Heard hour. And I love to bring back some of these things, especially when they stick in my memory, like that one did, just the fierceness of the voices of the women who I don't understand completely in Spanish. I understood some of it, most of it, all of the feeling of it. This is Beyond Borders. I'm Martha Cinader, and we're going to go back now to a conversation between myself and Judy Talaugon and Hernan Ramiro Rodriguez Sierra. Judy and I started talking before you came on. We were talking about the Southern Hemisphere and and the old trade routes. We make all these assumptions that tend to veer towards white culture, that I do that unintentionally sometimes, and it's partially based on our total education, like that we all get, right? And so, and that's why you got this nickname, Jay, because you got tired of hearing Hernán or whatever it was you said, right? And so,
or Hernan or whatever these.
Hernan, that's what you said, right? Also,
there's no American sound in
right?
it.
Right.
It's really Ede. It's
but
like
so
Ede
this
is an
thing
R
of you changing your name, I think it's like really profound, and it's part of maybe the answer of what men can do right now, because you're digging into your origins and the reasons why you've done the things you've done. And I think a lot of women are doing the same thing and coming up with poems like Men Come From Women. Women are expressing themselves in all kinds of ways right now about just seeing the truth of our experience as women in this world, right? But so you are doing the same by claiming your name. And so I just want to go back to that for a minute, and the Southern Hemisphere and what that all has to do with, what does old trade routes actually have to do with you reclaiming your name as well, and all of us recognizing more of our origins and respecting the origins.
So again,
to want to learn about others' origins as well and not make assumptions. Judy?
That what came from the South, I don't know how to say it in Spanish, but is to assert, Mr. over here with his original name, to assert self-determination. And to do that, you have to have an origin story, right? Self-determination. That means you come from someplace. And you're going to assert your original self, who you have become, who you are, what you represent, past and future. That's very indigenized principles.
Yeah, and it's not a perfect story, right? It's not the Brady Bunch over here.
It's your story. That's the point. It's your story. Right?
I swear to you, man. In 1970, I said pretty much. I'm like, wow, 6 kids, perfect. These are 2 divorced. That was a big thing. 2 divorced parents that put together as family. I was like, oh wow. And there's, for me and my family, we're 6. So my brothers and sisters used to laugh. Oh, there's 6 of us. 3 girls and 3 boys. That's like us. I said, yeah, but we're not. And we didn't. My parents are divorced. They should be divorced, but I don't know. But they stuck together. But anyway, it's interesting what you said, Martha, because I also been thinking about that. Well, in the terms of what I understand from Malcolm X, from the Black American experience up in the North, who I related to. And I remember my brother-in-law bury me at Wounded Knee. I was like 10 or 11, and I'm going, wow, man, I still have that book. And I was like, wow, I just know there's a lot of pain here. I was a kid. I just didn't understand what I related to. All I did is I read it, and I was like, man, this is, wow. It just opened up empathy. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that, oh, wow, there's a part of me in this. I wasn't sure if I related, if I was American Indian, if I was, all I know is that, man, whatever human being you treated like this, and you look at what the horror that this is, the Trail of Tears, and so I very early on, and of course I put that in the back of my mind later on, and here I am, years later, reflecting to that. But I had to think about what that means to me. My mother being indigenous, looking very indigenous, my father being mixed, my grandfather was Latino, was Spanish. My grandfather was a white Spanish guy, a first generation Colombian. A mayor of some town, so I'm told. I think I have memories of him. They announced my father's family at all, didn't even acknowledge. Even he had 2 kids with my grandmother, who was a black woman, Bantu roots, who he obviously abused, had children with, had 2 families. The other day when I was walking to Harlem, I saw pencils on the floor. And I saw paper from notebooks. And the thought popped into me, wow, what would my father think? Look, Dad, my grandfather refused to give my father pencil and pens. Literally, my father's like, I don't want to sell fish. Can you give me an education? And my grandfather, the jerk that he was, refused to give him, go back to work, he said to my father. They were hard to find, pencils on the floor. And a notebook, just paper to write on. And who ended up educating my father? My aunt Paulina, a black woman, who fell in love with a German man. The German man took my father, gave him an education, and my aunt Paulina said, I'll marry you and be with you if I can take my little brother with us. And so my father was taken off the street and brought up. This man, Mr. Kinderman, ends up being put in a concentration camp because he was German. And during the World War II, anybody who was German in South America was considered, who knows, the politics of male dominance, right? He was put, and he dies there, and she dies as well. My father comes to America, raises us here. I come here when I was 3 years old. All these stories get passed on. So we realize that's beyond color. Somebody was compassionate. I don't know what Mr. Kinderman's background was. He might have been Nazi, he might have been caught up. I have no clue. All I know is that there's all of these races and these women were attached to this whole thing. There's a black woman, or Abuela Pabla, who, by the way, that part of our theme for Beyond Borders is a thing that I remember her singing to me. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. That is something that my grandmother, is something that stayed in my mind. That's what I remember of my grandmother. That's why I made that. So it's a coincidence that theme, because my brother, it was really funny when I played it to my brother. My older brother said, oh my God, that's Abuela Pabla. Oh, Jay, that's amazing. That I put that chant, because she used to sing these rhythms. And she's not a musician, that's what I remember of her. And my grandmother, I have a picture of her, man. She looked like she was running the Underground Railroad from South America, man. She was like, no joke, man. No, she's a smart. I said, so she must have been this beautiful black woman. My mother was an orphan. By the time she was 7, her parents had passed away. Uncles took over the male dominance. My mother never saw anything that the parents had left, because whatever wealth my grandparents on her side were to give were not going to be given to them. They were given to the male. So again, that male thing And here I am, and my mom was very artistic. And the fact that my father found some sort of compassion and love enough to keep the family together here is beyond me. I could never do anything as good as that.
Right.
Here I am, and I'm struggling just keeping a family together here.
This is Prayer Wheel for William. You worked alongside men riding the fish wheel down the trickster tides of summer. Your boy hands hurrying, baskets tossing, splashing salmon onto the birchwood raft. Your cut-up, wind-burned hands that loved the violin, smelling of fish and the wood smoke. Tall and awkward Indian boy, arms too long, hair always falling into your blackberry eyes, drifting with the river, turning with the fish wheel. My prayers of you are turning.
Thanks to Judy Talaugon for reading the poetry of Mary Tall Mountain. This is Beyond Borders, and I'm Martha Cinader, joined by Judy Talaugon and Hernan Ramiro Rodriguez Sierra. We're going to return now to the conversation.
And I'm seeing my 18-year-old son and happy just to be here. But all of this coming back to Martha, who's also been through all this in her life, and she's found compassion in art. We have this compassion in art, and then she introduces me to you. And then I'm like, how does that work? If that isn't spirit healing, I don't know what else. Let me stay out of the way out of that thing. And me just trying to be a better human being in the form of a man, if you could call it that, is beyond me. And anyway, I'm just really grateful.
Oh, I like that. I like.
You can't stop, Martha. Martha, you've been kicking ass.
Yeah.
Martha.
Yeah.
You guys are kicking ass. And by the way, there's a matriarchal thing in South America, in Colombia, in the Southern Hemisphere. I was told last time I was there that women in Barranquilla are the pinnacle reason. There's a thing about, in my culture, at least in Barranquilla, that I understand that women are respected for their beauty and femininity, but their strength. Somehow or another, my mom wasn't like loud. She had to put up with all this. I don't know. She was very spiritual. She told me stories of being visited by ancestors. She was very in touch with her spirit, I think, at a very young age. After losing her mom and dad at a very young age, 7, 8, she was open, and she opened herself up to a lot of and she could tell, she saw things. But by the way, she didn't monetize any of that. She didn't even talk about it to us. She talked about it to me. Not everybody in the family got to be talked to about the things she saw. She told me, I saw that. And she also told me about an uncle that she had that was a magician.
I was going to say, just
Oracle. I have no clue. That's it. I just remember that. I just remember these things. And so, which makes sense why I'm not afraid to look at those things. Yeah. But she put up with a lot of pain. My father wasn't always a perfect man. I had an experience with my father. I'll tell you this is how music connects my life to him. I go to Barranquilla, the place of my birth, to play with Chucho Valdez, the great piano player, back in 98, 99. I'm invited finally to this place where I was born. My uncle, who's a musician, he's screaming, that's my nephew. I was told this after the fact. My father goes out after I finish playing with these artists and musicians. He takes them out to a whorehouse. And I'm told the next day, oh man, your father was a trip. And I'm going, what? And they're like, oh man, he took us to this. I knew my father had frequented these houses of ill repute. And my father did that. And I could not identify the hurt. I acted like that wasn't anything. Because I am a man. I'm supposed to act like, oh, of course. And so I remember playing with Fred Wesley as of recently, like 2 years ago, I was in Austria, and one of the professors, he goes, oh, Jay, man, it's so wonderful to see you. Man, I have to tell you, man, one of the things I regret was going with your father. He remembered that. I was sitting there going, wow, I had forgotten about that. And so, again, this is not to be better than, or this is not even questioning my father or my mother, but just for me to see the world as it is. And understanding, okay, what is good of this? that I can keep. When am I going to fall into self-pity about? When am I going to be self-righteous about? Am I No, I'm not better than anybody or anything. How can I heal myself? The reason I'm saying this stuff is not for self-pity or poor Jay or Hernán. It's more like so that I hope people can identify with the whole story.
That's right.
That nobody has to hold on to prisoners or hold on to nightmares, and that everybody just did the best they could. And that's pretty damn good. My mother still put up with all that. Not my poor mother, because my mother doesn't need no such. Yeah, please keep your self-pity to yourself. I got this. I'm very happy with my life here with my children.
Yeah, of course.
And my sisters and brothers love my mother. My God, what a spiritual saint she is. Strongest. And I'll take all those strong things from her that I think I'm part. I've actually learned more from my mother than my father. Right? My father did always say I was sorry. I did learn how to say I was sorry. And I've learned to kind of hopefully live, not just say you're sorry, but try to live in a better way.
In a better way.
That's all I can remember. My father just like, I want to make sure that I can hold the family together. All I can do is what I can do. My father might have been an alcoholic. I don't know. I don't think so. He seemed to live his way. I don't know. There's a lot of giant mysteries I'm not here to deal with of him. That's all. All I know is that he did somehow or another hold it together, or something held us together.
Isn't that something, though? That above it all, this man did something that I personally, what you said, I can't do it either. I cannot do what that man did.
I would have fallen apart. I would have not made it past whatever. Whatever his spirit led him to be that. The trauma of being denied by another man, a white man, Carlos. There was one last story that my oldest brother says, oh man, Carlos Ortega walked up to the neighborhood to visit to see how your father was doing. Carlos Ortega was my white grandfather, the Spanish guy. And my grandmother was living with us, it seems, and she was laughing because she goes, oh, look at him now, because he was having trouble walking. And my grandmother was a black woman, strong. She was laughing. She said, look at him. Look at how he walks. That's hilarious. He can barely walk. Look at him. And she was strong as an ox, laughing. She was like Harriet Tubman, man.
Yeah.
She looks like Harriet Tubman. When I saw a picture, I'll show you. Actually, I'll find a picture and send it for this episode if you want. The only picture I had, and I remember when it was my father's birthday, I took that picture and blew it up and gave it to him. He cried. He cried like a baby when I gave it to him. He said, oh my God. He saw like he saw a ghost.
Yeah.
I had blown up a picture that I found. This is when my father started kind of losing it. But the love that was given to him, and my brother-in-law, who's a Cuban santero, he took care of my mother and father to the very end. And my father threatened his life. You hurt my daughter, I'll kill you. This kind of like love. It wasn't violence, it was love. And so you have to respect love.
Yeah.
That's real macho. It's not macho. That's like a woman. A woman will say, I will kill you. You touch my daughter, I will. It's beyond love and light, man. Right. And that's beyond, if that's male energy, no, that's not male energy. That's some powerful spirit energy that belongs as much to a woman. Maybe I think women are more in touch with that than men are. I think men full of honestly, if that isn't, don't call it macho, call that energy, life force. Yeah. Martha, are you kidding me? Please be on my side. I'm gonna go play my flute and shut the hell up.
Judy, we've been talking for like an hour here.
I love it.
But I need you to like light on all this, Judy.
I'm sorry, Martha. I'll shut up.
Don't apologize. But I want to hear this through Judy's lens now.
I'll be quiet.
Well,
please go for it.
Better give it back to her.
I gotta say, philosophically, Hernán raised it today, and it has been on my mind. Why am I getting this peripheral attack from cis-born males? I'm getting this weird energy, but I looked forward to whatever I can moment with Hernán today because I knew I would get it. I would get ideas, and the idea is that. And the impulse was in me as well, to go to stay with my original garment, my original name given, all right? That oftentimes, even you were nicknamed, and so come back to the original garment. Not to be too biblical, but what we were given at birth, okay? mom named you that, and that came from someplace. We don't have consent after you're born. Nobody's going to give you mom permission to do anything with you freely anymore. This country is this country, okay? And the surveillance on mom. So you got to really know that, right? Okay? And I want to just say that today, and I want to say that is not a
right. Like even birth is commodified.
No, it's commodified. We said that doctors are cops. They have they can make the call who lives, who stays, and who goes. Okay.
Yep.
And how they're gonna go into life. So you holding on to your original garment, your original name, is an assertion. Here we go with the self-determination and the assertion at this time in the globe. We're all pushing forward, huh? Pushing forward. This is who I am. This is who I am. Hernán also hit another thing. Martha hit it the other day. There's these apps, and they talk authentic self. How the hell are you going to be authentic on digital environment when we need to be looking at each other's pupils and their eyes and the tears or just the emotions that we might draw from one another? We need to have a presence, and this fake sort of manufactured presence duped us. So let's just stay exactly what we did today. Sharing is a generosity. So that's what I want to say. This show has always been a wonderful gift to the community. I get to speak. I'm an auntie that I am definitely the auntie that says get off my lawn. So I had a chance to say that today. Thank you, Hernán. I got to reflect on a man who was very beautiful at one point, but he commodified, he monetized on an old wisdom set, a beautiful space that came through struggle, manufactured it over there, dropped it like a hot cake, and now sells man weekends. So I'm saying, please, people, no more.
Incredible.
No more.
Incredible.
We have this for free, you know. I mean, we will put up a QR code, but for free.
People need to donate. I think
we will take donations.
Man, this is
yes, we will. But
because
only to keep bringing this conversation to you, which is being offered freely, and I want to thank you both so much for giving of your souls freely and being here today with me. And I will say, as I say often, we are the network, and I want to thank everybody for allowing us to be heard and for listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Beyond Borders is brought to you by Listen and Be Heard Network, a project of sound system culture. We're thinking of Hawaii and the people who live there as we wrap up this episode. And we're going to leave you with a poem written and read by Vanessa Lee Miller back in season 2 of the Listen and Be Heard Hour. This is called Wailuku.
Wailuku, the raging Kahavai, the river. Her ka holo, her long, sinuous journey begins as a watery, pencil-thin line, a mere trickle, mocha, way up high, looking towards Na Lani on Mauna Kea. Her awana is a graceful journey iho down slope towards rainy Hilo. Ai, Hilo ikaua kanilehua. As she continues to iho, journey down slope, a magical transformation ensues. From her embodiment of a graceful, delicate trickle, she widens, becoming voluptuous. She's now a raging beast, plunging turbulently downward, full of ena, capable of arbitrarily grasping in her watery fist a young, reckless life and smuggling it into one of her many deep, cavernous pockets in her slimy ana. She'll stash it there, it's hers, until the pale, lifeless form struggles through a multitude of tempestuous undercurrents to surface somewhere iho down slope. But during the course of her journey, she leaves a trail of dazzling performances after week upon week of infinite drops of rain from Na Lani. Awestruck Malihini call these wonders Pi'ihonua Camp Cascades, boiling pots, rainbow falls. Old Hawaii calls them Puakana, Kuakanini, Pe'epe'e, Waiā Nui Nui. She weaves ever so gracefully, skirting around sacred, smooth boulders, leaving her mossy footprints of slippery limu. She continues to Awana in the wee hours of the morning. From my hamakua-facing bedroom window, I hear her raging, bellowing sounds, drowning out the lonely, searching calls of the small, scaly river creatures of the night. Searching in blind rage, she leaves no boulder, no jagged rock, no slimy pebble unturned. River Mo'o waits, watching her every move, hearing her belches and snorts and eerie releases. He, shaking out the raindrops from his mane of writhing eels, belts out a wicked laugh. "Get plenty time," he says, slowly, sharpening his battle-ready claws against the skull boulder. He waits patiently for the right moon. O Wailuku, you watery, undulating wahine ali'i, once a graceful trickle from Na Lani, you've morphed into a skull crusher, you stone carver, you mo'o slayer, so bloodthirsty for the fearless, sweet weed-scented swimmer. Or was it the claw of the mo'o, of the rain-drenched cave of goddess Hina, that dragged the young baga into the murky depths? Upon reaching her deep, dark, limu-laden green mouth, Maka'olanakila, she forcefully surrenders, her full, swollen self plunging once more into the wide, stormy bay. Both river and sea currents reluctantly mingle. She truly is what old Hawaii called her, destructive waters. Wailuku, the river, life-giving, life-grasping, ruthless Kahawai. E Wailuku I kaua loku loku, e Wailuku I kaua kālai lepo, e Wailuku I kaua nahu ili, e Wailuku I kaua kālai pohaku, e Wailuku I kaua ho'omomona aina, e Wailuku I kaua makana nui I ka mahi ai.
Beyond Borders is brought to you by Listen and Be Heard Network. Please visit our archives at listenandbeheard.net.